If your idea of valuing people is an annual pizza party and a generic certificate that says, "Good job, listen up." Welcome back to the Foker Lab podcast, where we talk intelligence, strategy, leadership, and discernment, and occasionally confess that some of our appreciation efforts have been about as inspiring as a mandatory fun run. This is our leadership series, and today we're talking about what it really means for leaders to understand the priority of people and to value and appreciate them in ways that are smart, honest, and actually land. Up to now in the series, we've looked at followership, leadership theories, modeling what matters, honest self-evaluation, and fostering collaboration. Today is the next step. If collaboration is we do the work together, then valuing and appreciating people is I actually see you while we do it. It's about treating followers not as tools, but as human beings whose dignity, gifts, and motivations matter as much as the org chart and the mission slide. Contemporary leadership theories, like transformational leadership and servant leadership, have been leaning this way for a while. They try to balance the needs of leaders and followers instead of treating followers as resources who only show up in the budget. Servant leadership goes even further and basically says if you want to empower followers to act and be effective, your core commitment has to be follower focus. The servant leader is servant first, someone who pays attention to people's highest priority needs and makes sure those needs are served before they start bragging about hitting metrics. That doesn't mean goals don't matter. This isn't forget outcomes, let's just hug. The argument in the lesson is more subtle. Organizational objectives are important, but they are secondary to how you treat the people who will actually deliver those objectives. And here's the fun twist. More and more leadership theorists are saying the best way to achieve those objectives is precisely to focus on serving the people doing the work. When followers become the focus of leaders, and those leaders genuinely serve them, those followers turn out to be the primary agents through which the goals get met. People who feel seen and valued tend to show up differently. What does that look like on Monday morning? Effective leaders start their engagements in a way that confirms the value and dignity of the people they're working with. That's where collaboration should begin. Hi, you're a human. I respect you. Let's tackle this together. It's also the foundation for developing followers and actually getting things done. Leaders have to be proactive in showing appreciation. You can't wait for the annual awards banquet. You have to recognize the whole person, their mind, their heart, their effort, and how they contribute to organizational objectives. At its core, transformational leadership is about working well with people. Valuing people means building trust, encouraging real collaboration, and inspiring them in ways that help them see and appreciate the gifts they bring to the team. The theory says leaders need to pay attention to both the cognitive dimension, how followers think, and the affective dimension, how they feel. Both matter for motivation and commitment. So your work as a leader, when you're valuing and appreciating people, should engage both. You're not just giving them more information, you're giving them reasons to care. We often over-rely on extrinsic motivation, pay, bonuses, perks, titles. Those can be helpful, but they don't last long. Intrinsic motivation, people wanting to do the work because it feels meaningful, is far more powerful and enduring. People will commit deeply to meaningful work, even when the paycheck is small or non-existent. Transformational leadership tries to turn work from drudgery into meaning. It sees the whole person and draws out motivations that encourage the heart and inspire a sense of purpose. When someone feels like their work actually matters, they stop counting minutes and start caring about impact. That's why the need for recognition and approval is such a big driver in human experience. We like to pretend we're above it, but almost everyone, somewhere inside, wants to know, does what I do matter? Did anyone notice? So leaders have to balance the urge to get things done with the reinforcement people need. The job is not results at all costs. The job is get results in a way that makes this a great place to work. If you get the first part and miss the second, You might hit your numbers while slowly draining the soul out of your organization. One of the coolest ideas in the lesson is the Pygmalion effect, the power of expectations. It comes from a Greek myth where a sculptor's statue comes to life, and it shows up again in My Fair Lady, where Eliza Doolittle is transformed from a lower-class, Cockney-speaking Londoner into someone who can navigate elite society, because someone believed that more was possible for her. In education, when a teacher has high expectations of a student, that student often rises toward those expectations. The same thing happens at work. Leaders play a critical role here. The expectations you carry and communicate about your people can become a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. When you look at someone and think, they're probably going to mess this up, you treat them differently. You're quicker to correct, slower to trust, more likely to spot flaws. When you look at them and think they're capable of more than they realize, you give them opportunity, support, and belief. Over time, those expectations shape reality. Valuing and appreciating people means consciously choosing the second posture and being careful about the stories you tell yourself about your followers. The lesson also reminds us that work of all kinds, hands, mind, heart, is evidence of human dignity. It's how we spend most of our waking hours in service to others. Leaders who recognize the work of others are affirming something fundamental about them as humans, not just employees. When you notice and honor someone's effort, you're not just saying, "Thanks for the report." You're saying, "Your time, skill, and energy matter in this story, and I see them." Followers benefit deeply from that kind of recognition. There's some hard data here, too. Studies show the value of setting clear goals and providing meaningful feedback. Whenever either clear goals or constructive feedback was present, follower effectiveness improved by about 25%. When leaders combined both clear expectations plus real feedback, improvement jumped to more than 60%. That's not fuzzy science. That's a big efficiency gain. You can start simple. Pay attention, look for followers doing something right, and give immediate, specific positive reinforcement. Ken Blanchard calls this 1-minute praising. It's not about speeches, it's about catching people doing the right thing and saying so. Our instinct, of course, is usually the opposite. Look for what people are doing wrong and correct it. That has its place. But the research says it's more effective to look for positive examples to praise. If you genuinely have a positive view of followers and high expectations of them, you will find an abundance of opportunities to say, "That right there, that's exactly the kind of thing that moves us forward. That shapes culture faster than endlessly pointing out what's broken." The lesson is also honest about the barriers leaders feel. Yes, followers have inherent value, but it's hard to express that when all you hear is a constant stream of problems and complaints. Yes, you want to reward people, but the budget is tight and there's no funding for bonuses or fancy recognition programs. Yes, you want to recognize a job well done, but you worry that celebrating one person will look like favoritism. Yes, you want to affirm contributions, but your schedule is packed and you tell yourself you don't have time. The common thread in those excuses? Scarcity. Scarcity of money, time, emotional bandwidth. Valuing and appreciating people invites you to notice the assets and opportunities you do have. You don't need a huge budget to give specific, heartfelt, meaningful feedback. You don't need a free afternoon to write a thoughtful note. Positive feedback isn't about volume. It's about sincerity and specificity. Your great is fine. When you did X yesterday, it helped Y happen, and here's why that mattered, is better. And don't fall into the trap of thinking no news is good news. People do not automatically know they're valued and appreciated. Silence is not affirmation, it's ambiguity. Leaders often hire people, tell them what to do, and then disappear, assuming good work will follow. The lesson calls that out. That's not delegation, that's abdication. Real delegation includes staying aware of what's being done, providing feedback, and expressing appreciation regularly. Practically, that can look like a lot of small human actions. A private word in the hallway, a public thank you in a meeting, a handwritten note, a card left on a desk, a quick email that says more than thanks. The lesson challenges leaders. Take the time to authentically express your gratitude to 2 people this week, not because it's on your performance plan, but because you're modeling the kind of culture you want. To keep your appreciation authentic, your words and actions have to match. You can't praise someone in public and then roll your eyes about them in private. You can't give a big, "you're so important to this team" speech and then consistently ignore their input. That kind of disconnect doesn't just neutralize your appreciation, it makes people cynical. Valuing and appreciating people is not a performance. It's a choice to line up your behavior with your stated belief that they matter. So, what do you do with all this in your own leadership? Start small and honest. This week, pick one person you work with and ask yourself, if I were them, would I feel valued by me? Not, do I value them in my head, but does anything in my behavior tell them that? If the answer is, I don't know, or probably not, don't feel guilty. Just fix it. Find one specific thing they've done recently that helped the mission and tell them that you noticed. Make it concrete. Then look at your habits. Do you default to criticism and correction? What would it look like to shift that ratio even a little, so you spend more time catching people doing things well? Do you assume everyone is fine if they're not complaining? What would it look like to build a rhythm, weekly, monthly, of intentional appreciation that doesn't wait for a crisis? This is the Fokker Lab podcast. In the last episode of this leadership series, we're going to dig into one more piece that pulls all of this together, creating a place for individuality. How to build teams where people don't have to leave their uniqueness at the door to belong, and where difference becomes an asset, not just a problem to manage. I'll see you next week.